One book, one extraordinary life. 48 chapters of saints, science, and the search for God.
I'm Kai.
And I'm Maya.
And this is our take on Autobiography of a Yogi, chapter by chapter.
A man stands alone in the Himalayan foothills. Not a monk, not a renunciate, a civil servant, a householder in a modest government position. And the thing that's about to happen to him is going to change the course of spiritual history in ways that won't be fully understood for generations. Chapter 34, Materializing a Palace in the Himalayas.
Okay, so this is the moment. This is the chapter where Lahiri Mahasaya finally meets Babaji face to face, the Deathless guru, the one who initiated Lahiri Mahasaya into Kriya Yoga in the first place, the origin of the entire lineage that flows through Sri Yukteswar to Yogananda and eventually to us. But here's what's fascinating about how it happens. Lahiri doesn't go looking for Babaji. He doesn't climb the mountains with a map and a staff. He doesn't even intend to meet his guru. It happens through the ordinary machinery of bureaucracy. He gets transferred.
Right. So Lahiri is working his job, serving the British administration at Danapur, and then the transfer orders come through. It's just a routine administrative shuffle. He's being moved from Danapur to this place called Ranikhet, which is a military station in the Himalayas. The British established it as a sanitarium for officers and troops seeking refuge from the heat of the plains. And as Lahiri is processing the paperwork, settling into this new posting, something begins. He feels drawn, called. There's something about the mountains that's pulling at him.
So he's supposed to be doing his job, right? He's supposed to be filing reports and managing whatever bureaucratic duties a government clerk would have. But instead, he finds himself drawn away from Ranikhet itself. He's drawn deeper into the Himalayan solitudes. He wanders into the mountain wilderness. And at a place called Amarkanta, in those high, sacred mountains, he encounters something that changes everything.
Babaji, the Deathless master. The guru appears before him. And Yogananda describes Babaji exactly as he was before, exactly as he's been for centuries. A man in his early 30s, with youthful features, with an ageless quality. And when Lahiri sees him, the entire world falls away. The paperwork, the job, the government position, the responsibilities, all of it becomes insignificant in the presence of this master. Yogananda writes that Babaji's gaze was so full of divine love, so full of spiritual power, that Lahiri was immediately transfixed. And more than that, Lahiri recognized him, not in the sense of having met him before, but in a deeper way, as if something in his soul recognized its origin.
And then Babaji does something that's never quite happened before in the narrative. We've seen Pranabananda appear in two places at once. We've seen Sri Yukteswar heal people with a glance. We've seen miracles and extraordinary powers. But this is something different. This is creation. Babaji materializes something. He brings a palace into being.
A palace, not a hut, not a meditation cave, an actual palace made of gold and precious materials. It appears in the wilderness of the Himalayas, created entirely from consciousness, from will, from the cosmic power that flows through an illumined master. Yogananda describes the architecture as transcendent. The design is unlike anything that exists in the material world, because this palace isn't built by hands. It's not constructed through human effort over months or years. It's materialized. It springs into being fully formed, consciousness taking shape, spirit becoming matter.
I mean, wait, what? Seriously? A golden palace materializes in the Himalayas? That contradicts everything we know about how the world works. Okay, let me think about this. We've already accepted that Babaji is deathless, that he doesn't age, that he exists in a body that transcends normal physical limitations. So maybe if he can transcend the laws that govern the human body, why can't he transcend the laws that govern matter itself?
That's exactly the point. You know, a master who has complete control over consciousness has complete control over the material world, because consciousness is fundamental. Matter is consciousness taking form. The master can direct consciousness to appear as any form he chooses, a body, a palace, a feast, whatever serves the purpose. And when the purpose is fulfilled, the form dissolves. It returns to its source.
So Babaji takes Lahiri into this manifested palace. And what happens then?
Initiation. The deepest initiation. Yogananda describes it as the most extraordinary spiritual experience of Lahiri's life. Babaji performs a ceremony. He transmits directly. And for 7 days and nights, Lahiri remains in an intense meditative state. Yogananda calls it the Nirvikalpa Samadhi state. It's not something you experience, it's something you become. Complete absorption, total union with cosmic consciousness. The individual consciousness merges with the divine consciousness. There is no distinction. There is no separation. Lahiri's awareness expands completely. The boundaries of his selfhood dissolve entirely.
And during those 7 days?
Yogananda writes that Lahiri penetrates the deathless realms of reality. He crosses the successive strata of self-knowledge. All delusive limitations drop away. His soul becomes fully established on the eternal altar of the cosmic spirit. He understands directly, not intellectually, but through direct perception, that consciousness is the fundamental nature of reality, that matter isn't real in the way we think it is, that everything is God appearing in different forms. Everything is consciousness.
And on the 8th day?
He returns to individual consciousness. He comes back. His awareness contracts back into the individual form, but he's different, fundamentally transformed. The samadhi state is gone, but the knowledge from it remains. The unity he experienced is still there, underlying everything.
And the palace?
Gone, vanished. Yogananda writes that the palace that had served as the sacred sanctuary for those 7 days simply ceases to exist. It dissolves completely, as if it was never there, which in a sense it never was, not in the way we think of permanent material objects. It was consciousness appearing as form, and when the purpose was fulfilled, the form released back into consciousness.
That's the teaching about Maya right there, that everything material is temporary, that matter is consciousness that's being shaped by will and intention, and when there's no longer a reason for that form to exist, it returns to its source.
Exactly. And then Babaji embraces Lahiri. The initiation is complete, the transmission is done, and Babaji speaks. And what he says is going to reshape everything Lahiri believed about the spiritual path. Right, because in India, spirituality has always meant renunciation. It's meant leaving the world. It's meant becoming a monk, becoming a sadhu, renouncing family, renouncing wealth, renouncing all worldly attachments. That's been the path for centuries. But Babaji says something completely different.
He says, "My son, your role in this incarnation must be played on an outward stage. Prenatally blessed by many lives of lonely meditation, you must now mingle in the world of men."
Those words change everything. Babaji is saying, you're not going to stay in the mountains. You're not going to retreat into caves for meditation. You're not going to become a renunciate. That's not your path. Your path is to go back, to return to the world, to remain a householder.
But hold on, Babaji is also giving a reason for this. He's saying Lahiri was prenatally blessed by many lives of meditation. So Lahiri has earned the right to sit in a cave meditating all day. Lahiri has done the work. Lahiri has paid the karmic dues. But Babaji is asking him not to do that, to do something harder, to stay in the world. Why? Because Babaji has something bigger in mind. Babaji explains the deep purpose. He says, "The cries of many bewildered worldly men and women have not fallen unheard on the ears of the great ones. You have been chosen to bring spiritual solace through Kriya Yoga to numerous earnest seekers. The millions who are encumbered by family ties and heavy worldly duties will take new heart from you, a householder like themselves." Okay, so this is explicit. Babaji is saying your job is to teach Kriya Yoga to householders, to regular people, to people who are working jobs and raising families. Kriya isn't just for monks anymore. That's the shift. That's the revolution. Lahiri is the bridge between the ancient tradition and the modern world.
And there's more. Babaji explains the practical reality of Kriya. He says Lahiri should teach people that the highest yogic attainments are not barred to the family man. Even in the world, the yogi who faithfully discharges his responsibilities without personal motive or attachment treads the sure path of enlightenment. So Kriya works on the nervous system. It works on consciousness itself. It works on the breath and the movement of life force through the body. It doesn't matter what your external circumstances are. It doesn't matter whether you're a monk or a householder.
And this is important because otherwise you're saying that enlightenment is only for people with certain privileges, only for people who can afford to leave their jobs and sit in caves, only for people with no family responsibilities. But that eliminates most of humanity. That says enlightenment is only for the few. Babaji is saying no, it's for everyone.
And then Babaji raises the level again. He tells Lahiri to give Kriya freely, openly, without restrictions. He says, give Kriya freely to all who humbly ask for help. The tortured men and women of the world, pursued by the threefold suffering, need special encouragement. They may never attempt the road to freedom if Kriya initiation be withheld from them.
The threefold suffering. That's physical suffering, mental suffering, and spiritual suffering. And Babaji is saying if someone is experiencing that and they ask for help, give them Kriya. Don't make them jump through hoops. Don't make them prove themselves over years. Don't gatekeep the teaching, you know?
That's a direct rejection of the old ways. Traditionally in India, you had to be a renunciate to receive Kriya. You had to give up everything. You had to prove your sincerity through years of service. You had to meet stringent requirements. Babaji abolishes all of that. He's saying the teaching is for anyone who genuinely asks. That's the criteria. That's it.
And then Babaji quotes scripture to underscore the point. He quotes the Bhagavad Gita. He says, Swalpa mayasya dharmasya trayatta mahato boyat. Even a little bit of the practice of this religion will save you from dire fears and colossal sufferings. So even if you can't meditate for hours, even if you can't leave the world, even if you can only practice a little bit, it works. The technology of Kriya works. It's not dependent on how much you practice or on your external circumstances.
Kriya is science. It's not religion. It's not belief. It works on the objective mechanics of consciousness and the nervous system. You practice it correctly and the results follow. Period. It doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter what culture you're from. It doesn't matter what your religious tradition is. The science works.
And Babaji makes one more point about the transmission itself. He says, bestow the Kriya key only on qualified chelas. He who vows to sacrifice all in the quest of the divine is fit to unravel the final mysteries of life through the science of meditation. So the teaching is protected, but the criteria isn't renunciation. The criteria is earnestness. It's genuine seeking. It's willingness to prioritize God realization above all else. And that earnestness can express itself in many forms. It can express itself as a householder. It can express itself as a monk. It can express itself in any context.
And then Babaji tells Lahiri something about their past life connection, something that explains why this meeting is happening now. He says, "My son, there is no separation for us. Wherever you are, whenever you call me, I shall be with you instantly." And earlier in the encounter, Yogananda hints that Lahiri and Babaji have a history that goes back across multiple lifetimes, that their connection as guru and disciple isn't new, that it's ancient, that they've been together in many incarnations.
So it's not random that Lahiri was born at this time. It's not coincidence that he's in the Himalayas at this specific moment. It's karma. It's a continuation of something that goes back beyond memory. And the connection between guru and disciple is so strong that it transcends time and space. Babaji is saying, I've been with you through all of it, and I'll continue to be with you, not necessarily in physical form, but in consciousness. The transmission is complete. The connection is eternal.
And that's the teaching about the guru-disciple relationship that Yogananda emphasizes throughout the whole book. It's not just an intellectual relationship. It's not just that a guru teaches you some technique and you go away. The guru and disciple are bound together in consciousness. The guru becomes like a second spine in your nervous system. When you call on the guru responds. Not through magic, but through the transmission of consciousness.
So Lahiri leaves the Himalayas. He descends from those sacred mountains. He goes back to Ranikhet. He goes back to his posting. He reports to work. He sits at his desk. He goes back to his wife and his children. His external life looks exactly the same. Nobody would look at him and think, this man has been initiated by the Deathless Guru. This man has experienced union with cosmic consciousness. He looks ordinary. He is ordinary on the surface.
But internally, everything is different. He's been transformed. He's experienced the deepest samadhi. He's been blessed directly by Babaji. He carries within him the living transmission of the lineage. And from this point forward, his life has a different purpose. Not to escape the world, but to demonstrate that enlightenment is compatible with the world, that you can serve others, that you can be a husband and a father and an employee, and simultaneously be in constant communion with God.
And that palace in the Himalayas is left behind, but it's not really left behind, because the teaching it embodies stays with Lahiri. The teaching that consciousness is more real than matter, that form is temporary, that beneath the appearance of the world, reality is unchanging, reality is divine. And Lahiri knows that now, not intellectually, but through direct experience. He lived in it for 7 days. He breathed it. He was it.
When he returns to his job, he's living in two worlds simultaneously. On the outside, he's a government employee. He has a desk and paperwork and responsibilities. He has a wife and family. He has all the ordinary concerns of an ordinary person. But on the inside, he's in constant communion with cosmic consciousness. He's aware of the divine presence in everything. The same sacred awareness he experienced in the materialized palace in the Himalayas is available to him at his desk, in his office, in his home. everywhere.
And that's what makes him such a powerful teacher for householders, because householders can look at him and think, I don't have to change my external life to find God. I don't have to quit my job or leave my family or move to a cave. I just have to change my internal awareness. I just have to learn the science of Kriya. I just have to direct my consciousness toward the infinite. And the work and the family and the ordinary life, all of that becomes the context for enlightenment. It becomes the classroom where God teaches me.
So Lahiri becomes the bridge between the ancient tradition of the renunciate saints and the modern world of householders. He proves that the two can coexist, that enlightenment doesn't require escape. It requires presence. It requires showing up in the world with spiritual awareness. He's going to spend the rest of his life demonstrating this principle, teaching Kriya to people just like him, showing them that sainthood has no nationality, that enlightenment recognizes no social status.
And seriously, the implications of this are enormous, because Yogananda is going to do the same thing later. He's going to bring Kriya to America. He's going to teach it to people living ordinary lives in the West. He's going to show Western seekers that the teaching isn't foreign to them, that consciousness isn't Indian or American, that it's universal. But Lahiri comes first. Lahiri establishes the principle, and the teaching spreads from there.
The chapter that follows is called The Christ-like Life of Lahiri Mahasaya, and it's going to be profound because we're going to see what it actually looks like to live with enlightenment and remain in the world, to walk that path of the householder saint, to serve others while maintaining the highest states of consciousness, to live in the marketplace without being corrupted by it.
And I think the reason Yogananda includes this chapter is to show us that the path we're taking is real, that enlightenment is possible for us, not just for renunciates, not just for people in special circumstances, for us, for you listening to this, for anyone who genuinely seeks.
See you next time.